taped?
Yep.
Good.
We're live.
So a few 100,000, 400,000 years, maybe 500. I was considered a being, wore a white robe. And I could foresee that there's a big problem coming with the reptiles and the humans. And the problem was going to be on Earth because that was when the seeding had begun. Star seeds of some special DNA, because the reptiles and humanoid races already existed in fighting, as well as among themselves. Reptiles would fight and humans would fight. So that's the Starseed project. That project led to was focused on this planet, and so I decided I'd come down to this planet, mediate, and immediately the reptoids drowned me in the dark green sea, and I got stuck here. So I'm the first, and I knew that I'd be rescued and that the rest of you would have to come. So it was a kind of sly nature, a part of my nature. I'm going to go ahead now to the, if you can show the quest, the coat of arms.
Mm-hmm. What would you like to start with?
Eventually, well, each one has a man in a mask.
Okay.
Two of them do. That one is obviously.
Okay, so we're just going to switch around here.
We covered them except for the mask. We didn't say it was in the mask.
Right.
And I figured that out last night.
Okay, so let's go to here. Okay. So which one do you want to start with?
Well, the two of them have a mask. That one, we've seen the mask. Let's look at the Shakespeare one.
Okay.
It's very hard to see the mask.
Okay.
It's such a bad picture. But that's below. That's the Da Vinci one. He's not in there. Here, there's a mask. Yes, you can see it just above the shield, and it's similar to your mask. The big visor. Can you want to use the pointer on it?
Right here.
No, that's the skull. There's the mask.
It's just the helm, the visor.
Yeah. So when you finish analyzing this picture, which we did already, to show there's a male and female cherub, and the female controls time, and the male simply controls matter, mass. It's got a shovel. She's got a fire and an hourglass. She controls.
Right.
And on the shield, there's nothing because Shakespeare had no honors. He simply was a writer, so there's a pen on the shield pointing down. And so it makes it into kind of a coat of arms.
Okay.
Now, if we looked at above the mask is the Holy Spirit. Then why is the Holy Spirit touching the mask? Because inside the mask is something called the Ekmaster or Mahanta.
The Mahanta.
Mahanta is inside the mask.
Mahanta is inside here.
That's right. And it's a rank under God that controls everything to do with human soul.
Okay.
So it masters everything. But it stayed out of sight, and they only appeared when Eckankar appeared, which is now 57 years ago, 58 years ago. So, of course, nobody knows much about Mahantas or Ekmasters. But Mahantas are a different class from Ekmasters. It's so superior. Because they can almost go to the 12th plane. And maybe they have, some claim it. Now, he's behind the mask of your image too. So we'll go back up to your image, see the mask.
Okay.
Because there's something else happening.
So we're going to go to my coat of arms. This is the Lucic maternal
right.
side coat of arms, right?
Yes. Now this one we analyzed, it's got some kind of an Arab thing with crescent moon and stars.
Right.
So you must have some connection with them. And there were 4 chevrons on the arrow.
4 chevrons on the bottom of the arrow
The
pointing
four
up.
is a universal symbol for the builder.
So the builder race, the progenitors.
So you're builders, and now you're terribly under attack, but you will be protected because Muhammad's in the picture. He's just behind the map.
So basically, the spirit of the Mahanta is behind in here. So that's the force running
Okay.
behind all of us.
Now,
Okay.
in a minute, I'll explain why I know that. But let's go up to the picture now with the drawbridge.
With the drawbridge, awesome.
Okay. Now this is one that Da Vinci did.
Da Vinci did this.
Yeah, because he lived in that castle in Milan for 18 years. He decorated the whole thing.
So that was called the palace dragon. Is that correct?
Well,
Sforza family
you can
crest.
call it that. You can call it the drawbridge dragon would be a good name for it because there are dragons all over the palace, but there are only two that look like this, and there's only one. This is the authentic one that Da Vinci put everything on. He banked on this. And so if you now go to the close-up,
Okay.
of course, I'm sure there's more information with the bridge, but I haven't ever thought about it. You have
Like the Royal Arch. We were talking when I said the Royal Arch and the
you
Keystones.
see that now in the bridge.
Yeah.
Arches,
Mm-hmm.
and they're keystone arches.
Correct.
Then you determine that the Mahanta is in this picture is not a mask, but the blue color is the Mahanta because he knew that the mental plane, that the world will be educated to the point of access to the mental plane, and that's the color that characters the color of the mental plane.
So the mental plane is this blue, also reflective of the Ekankara Ekmaster or the spirit masters.
That's right. The master's color is white, but sheer white, but he allows it to be blue so he can communicate better with us.
Right.
And that dragon also has the green, showing that it's carrying you up from the physical plane up to the mental plane. The man is celebrating in his mouth. It's not fearful. It's not dying.
So it's more like a triumphant thing. That's why his
yes.
hands are there. He's not being eaten. He's not being tortured. He's actually like at one, and they're working together, sort of thing.
Now, what confirms that it's a Mahanta is that a Mahanta has 5 bodies, physical, and has constant access to all 5. We all have 5 bodies: physical, astral, causal, mental,
Right.
and soul. And they have to have a shell. They have to have a form. So they do. We have bodies. Everything has that. Otherwise, it would be amorphous.
Got it.
You couldn't say anything about it. You couldn't function. There's plenty of amorphous energy, but when you have a body, then you're an individual. You're something. So the Mahanta has control of all 5 bodies. We don't. I can do it. My astral body in dreams. I'm a physical body. I'm sitting here. Or I can do emotion, access my astral body.
Yep.
And I can certainly access my mental body when I'm sitting here doing it. But I can't do all 5 at once. And very little contact with the causal.
Right.
So that's the difference between the Mahanta. And the Mahanta is the Holy Spirit, except it operates for the Holy Spirit and protects souls. And this is where the lucid coat of arms has that, and it's quite rare. You don't see a mask like that on a lot of coat of arms, if any.
I've never seen one like that on any of the ones.
Well,
This is on the maternal side.
Now you have. You saw it in the Shakespeare code. Let's go back to that mask. I'll say a little bit about the code and the 5 bodies.
Okay, so we're gonna go back to the Shakespeare.
Yes.
Okay.
So we've already said that the lady cherub on the right, you can see the slightly sexual difference. She's a little rounder, a little smaller. So the artist who did this is a Mahanta. That's what I wanted to say. This Mahanta went to England under Queen Elizabeth, came from Germany, and originally came from Turkey. Because his name was Ismet Houdoni.
Ismet Houdoni.
Ismet Houdoni, like Houdini.
I saw that. When I saw that, it reminded me that's the connection to the Houdini. Okay.
Well, Houdini knew about it. Houdini knew a lot of stuff.
Right.
So, but there's no other connection. Houdini didn't do. well, Houdini tried to do. Remember, Houdini tried to get in touch with his mother after he died.
Right.
So he liked the idea. So he came up first about a century ago or so.
Yep.
Where Ismet Houdini came. I lived to age 135. So I came to explain who he is and what he did. Now, in the 8 books, only one of them, which is a private book of lessons, calls him a Mahanta. But when I tell you what he accomplished, you'll see it was a Mahanta. He started a new regime. Mahantas come when something new has to be started. We've just had 2 in a row. Paul Twitchell brought Eckankar back, and Harold Klemp has been sitting in that chair for 42 years. So Harold has suffered a lot. He's done a lot of things for humanity, and he's he's a wheelchair guy. Now he's a Mahanta. There's simply no thing you can not get if you ask for it. You're Mahanta, blah blah. Then you say what you need.
So you're saying it's like having prayer, but instead of saying this to God, but you're going to talk to the Mahanta, to the Great Spirit.
And he will. Well, he's the Great Spirit because Spirit means the Holy Spirit.
Or she. It's all. It's Spirit.
Yes, it's a very important question. Why they are men and not women? The answer is the job of women is your job. The job of men is to get things rolling and keep things rolling, and run around and be in wars, constant wars, because they have to remove enemy. What do we call it? The sinister forces.
Right. The dark.
So that's the male side. They're fighters.
Yeah.
And Harold Klemp, the present one, was in the Air Force for 4 years. He liked it. And the previous one, Paul Twitchell, was in the Navy or reserve like me, and lieutenant. And also, but he was junior lieutenant, junior grade. And I was full lieutenant. He was in for years. He was in the Merchant Marine.
Right.
And then they switched him into the Navy.
Got it.
And in his past lives, Paul Twitchell fought. He was one battle after another. I can't go into it because it's not the point. The point is there's a Mahanta named Ismet Houdini, previous Mahanta to these 2.
Right.
And he lived 135. He certainly lived till 1645. So he would have been born around 1510.
Got it.
Went from Turkey, Ismet Houdini, it's a Turkish name,
right,
to where he would be initiated. There were ex-schools,
right,
particularly at Ephesus, where the Temple of Diana had been. And St. Paul had so much trouble with the Ephesians, as he explains in his epistle, to get them to give up that Diana worship.
Alrighty. Okay.
Ephesus is where he came, probably where he came. I can't say for sure. Nobody said that. I know it's a Turkish name.
Okay.
Okay. He comes into England at the time of Queen Elizabeth, and
he goes to England when Queen Elizabeth I?
Yes.
Okay.
She's already been queen. She's had a long reign, and so she's already been queen since her sister died, Bloody Mary, around 1557. So without remembering her dates, by 1575 she's fairly well established, and she's made the country Protestant. The job of Ismet Houdini is to keep the country Protestant. So when she dies, he gets the King James Bible published, and he writes the whole thing. The King James Bible is in a special case.
So who are you saying actually wrote the King James Bible?
Ismet Houdini. Calls himself the Master E.K. And so if you read the Shepherd's Calendar, it's dedicated to the Master E.K.
Right, which we have.
That's Eck.
Yeah, and so that was what we saw with Sergeant Patty Broussard at Project Ascension on the genetics, but on the 12 Council. Because at the back end of that message was the whole thing, because that was apparently the absorption of the clan mother. So you actually see the treaties, you would have one clan mother in one of those poles and one in the other. And that's the first time they ever put 2 males in there.
So we have the merger now of the male force and the female force under the Mahanta, but he will relinquish of operations to the female side
Right.
as soon as they're established.
Right.
But he still has to defeat the reptiles and the enemies, sinister enemies.
Right.
Now, according to Patty, they got rid of the Dark Sun, which was the greatest enemy. Rudolph
The
Steiner
Dark Sun and the
talked
Black
about-
Sun cult.
Yeah, Rudolph Steiner talked about it. He said, forget Lucifer, forget Satan. Watch out for the Black Sun.
The Black Sun. Oh my gosh.
I could give you the name, but I don't want to.
Nope, that's okay.
And I don't remember it because I don't want to. So now we have the merger of these,
Merger of what?
well, of male and female being proclaimed by the Mahanta.
Okay, so we got that. Awesome.
Now, that's really as far as I can go. Uh, it's in all three pictures. The one, he's shown as the dragon, and he's got a 5-point crown. So the 5 is important because that means he's Samant. He has a twin body.
Oh,
And
so the
it-
twin body, so the
it's
5
said-
body.
It's not said every day in Egg. I would say if there were 100,000 eggs, maybe 10 of them would know about the twin body.
Got it.
But that's what makes the Mahanta. He can access all those bodies, and through them he reaches every soul, perhaps in the universe, certainly, since he represents the Holy Spirit. A lot of souls, probably the universe. Probably every plane, every form of the universe, every planet. There's no restricting him on.
Are you able to go through, as we talked about a little bit here, you gave me quite a significant disclosure. I mean, I've been doing it for years, but what this kind of means to you and what you sort of see, you talked quite a bit in here about seeing the images, hidden images.
Well, that's right.
Okay.
That's right. We have some progress being made because right at the top, there are 2 human figures.
So you see 2 human figures on each side.
Between
Same
the
thing
green,
again.
Yes.
Yeah.
You say the green's a peacock. I don't see why you say it. It looks like it could be anything.
Well, it looks like a tree, but it's actually supposedly a peacock
Okay, so
with an arrow going through it above the
Where
crown.
did you find that?
When I did the research, which has now been taken down off the internet, so but it said that the peacock was also symbolism. It was an immortal crown. It couldn't be sold or whatever. It's like a hereditary, like an empty DNA. So it would be passed down from the oldest female to the oldest
All right,
female to the oldest
If they use
female.
the word crown and it's sitting on the crown,
Hereditary,
3-point crown,
entitled to the crown.
Okay.
Yeah.
then that can easily be a peacock.
Yes.
It's got to be something. It's not a leaf. It's not a flower, and everything has meaning.
Yeah. It's a little bird, but I mean, it was a peacock.
And I'm certainly willing to call it a peacock or a phoenix, really. But the phoenix is not that bright a color. That's a peacock.
Yeah.
So then we come to the figure on its right, our left.
Our left, it's right. Okay.
And you have to be able to see it. This is a boyish figure,
A boy.
a young woman or boy.
Yeah.
And it occupies the whole picture. Its feet go down to the bottom, the hilt of the arrow.
Yep.
And then it's sitting on its perch. It's got a nice chair, and it's looking backwards. And then if we go to the other side, there's another figure. It's much more feminine.
Yep.
And it's looking. See, depending where you're sitting. But I'm seeing looking absolutely to the right, the opposite direction of the first figure. I see her looking in the future, and not unlike the Shakespeare one, she may be in charge of time, but there's no indication of it.
Right.
But by having passed the future, you're looking at time and a change.
Okay.
So now we have between them the crown.
Okay. So the gold crown, you can see some red jewels and the points.
And the knight in the shield does not wear a crown. He doesn't care about it. He's interested in the progress of soul.
Okay.
So the crown has to go, and the crown has to go into the future because it's being held in the middle. So somewhere one of these ladies is going to wear the crown, and what they'll do is manage the new Earth as it emerges in the next few decades. So this is an imminent event. Uh, it's not there to be discovered and not be used. Same as my other discoveries and yours. They're imminent. Now
They're
we get a
climate
very interesting new development below. We see a kind of demonic man choking a helpless woman with her hands tied behind her back. I'm only seeing what's in the code.
Okay.
It's not a Rorschach test. There's no bug plots. Nothing is duplicated. Everything is different right now.
Right.
And on the left, so we could say, probably on the left, the demonic man was holding back that youth. And now, when it's developed into a woman, and the time has come for it to take charge of how would the new Earth be managed?
How would the new Earth be managed?
Yeah, by klanmother.
By klanmothers, yes.
It can't be any other way and be fair.
Exactly. So you're saying it can't be any other way. It's got to be fairness.
And it must prevent the kind of vicious takeover that happens here.
Right.
So, which is built into human nature. It's not going to change that fast. Human nature involves jealousy, fear.
Right.
You can't remove those emotions. They haven't been processed yet.
It's interesting as I was looking at the stars, right? So we got the left star and the right star, right? But 6 points on each is 12, which would to me be also indicative of the council of 12. But then 13th klanmother is the overseer override. So unless you have 100% consensus, let's say those guys all said no and I said yes, or something, it overrides it, because unless you've got 100%, agreement, it doesn't fly.
There's no committee. You can put
but there were to be
races in on the council in 5, 10
or
shares,
13 klanmothers, but the same thing is it's still going to be
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
They'll all be crooked because they'll have their own self-interest and simply try to strike a deal.
Which is interesting why the 13th is above, or in the medicine wheel you got 28 positions, but the 29th for the klanmother sits outside the circle. Or like overseed.
Where did you see that? Like what medicine wheel?
All the medicine wheels, you'll have different positions around. And so that position to the north is always like the North Star or the Great Bear. So mine would be the Noah's Arcturian or arc line. But
okay.
Yeah, it's interesting when you see that and you correlate this.
When you see Indian movies about natives, there'll be one guy, he sets the decision anyway. They can all sit around and talk, and he might say, I compliment maybe that one on that Indian contribution.
Right.
Basically, he's going to tell them what's going to happen. Sitting Bull, whoever it is.
Yeah.
They have the word.
Right. Well, that was where Meredith Quinn's stuff came from, right? Was that substantiated that. But the other thing, too, even you've got the balance, or it's like supporters as well, in a way, that the 12 are supporting on the shield.
I think that that's true. When they've had a word and have a chance to speak,
right,
they become supporters. And they may say, I disagree with her, but this is what I said, but I go along with it.
Yeah, those are the defenders.
Because this is, or those who hated it.
Peacekeepers.
Still, if they're decent people, they'll say, look, I don't like that decision. It doesn't help my team.
Yeah.
But for the overall, I'm not in a position to change it.
Yeah.
And it's not that bad.
Okay, any comments on we talked about the sun and the stars, or the 2 moons and the 2 stars?
Now the blank things where their knees are, which look like conchs, are very hard to analyze because there's some writing on them.
You're talking in here the little bits.
No, the blank things that they're not painting.
No.
Just below where you touch.
Yeah, up and down.
Yeah, those items.
Yeah.
I'm not in a position to say what they are. They may just be blank.
Okay.
I think they are just blank because if you want to show their knees, you want to show their postures. And also, then it allows the lower couples to be choking each other. You see how the little gnome-shaped man.
There's little gnomes in there. Yeah.
Now, I want you to make it clear who he is, how big he is, and where he is, so you understand.
So I overstand. Where do you want it? Up into here.
That's his back. That's his ass.
Yeah.
And down below, now that's his legs.
Yep.
And now as you go up, you can go toward her. His arms are reaching across and choking her. See? He's trying to prevent her from making progress. You see all that.
I'm seeing the stuff going in the cross a bit.
You're seeing what?
Continue. I'm seeing the things go across.
Okay, and you can see she's got a blonde hair, long blonde hair, and her lips.
Just like the movie that I was in the pilot for. It's called The Future Shift, about the clan mothers by Susan Singh. She's blonde too there. I did the pilot.
Yeah.
It's amazing how you lose out for your own role. But anyway, there you go. Anything else? The arrow, the we got the feathers in there. We got the chevrons.
No, I'm prepared to say that the stars probably refer to stuff like in the Great Pyramid.
In the Great Pyramid.
One shaft points to Sirius and one points to Betelgeuse. Betelgeuse, I hope you want to pronounce it.
Betelgeuse. Betelgeuse. But yeah, if you're looking towards the star like Sirius, right, or you're looking at the North Pole star, just like they say, it's easier to go to heaven, which would be the Draco, but through Campbell-Pedardus.
I've got it. That arrow is pointing due north.
Yes.
So it's between the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper.
There you go.
So that's what the stars are, the bear. That brings the bear in here, which was missing very decisively, because what's due north and what has a star constellation each side of the due north? The little bear.
Ursa Major, Ursa Minor.
Yes.
The bear clan.
Yes.
Arcturians.
Yes. The only thing I can't do is the two moons. They don't relate to, probably don't relate to the Arab moons after all.
That could be the feminine, the gathering too, or a lot of things. Okay, awesome. Anything else we want to add or go through here today?
No, I'll repeat, I'll summarize.
Okay.
There is the Mahanta and the Bear Clan mother. It's time the Bear Clan mother took advantage, because anything you ask Mahanta, he'll give you, he'll solve problems without asking. He's just sitting there.
Okay, can you just repeat that a little louder so we get that, please?
Anything that any of us want.
Right.
For example, health. I'm responsible. I ate too much and I have a stitch now. And not today, but yesterday. Well, Mahanta, he'll do what he can, but it's my fault. I know better.
Okay.
But where you're genuinely blameless and where you try to comply with and make promises, you've got to keep them. But within that, anything you ask Mahanta, you will get. Just say, dear Mahanta, wonderful Mahanta, beloved Mahanta, please take this pain out of me and take it to yourself. It's gone. It doesn't take forever. It doesn't take there's another way to do it, is to write it down 15 times for 15 days. And then, of course, it's absolutely solid. But even just asking once is enough. And because you'll get a result right away, and you're going to see, hey, why was I wasting time doing New Age work? And this master was waiting there, who has twin body, speaks to everybody in the world and can influence the others to comply. Sometimes it's good to say, may the blessings be, after a request, because you're not giving orders to them. You're saying,
you're requesting.
Feature me with a blessing.
Right.
Please. So you say, may means please. May the blessings be. It's quite different from thy will be done. It's my will. May the blessings be.
Right.
But within reason and within what I observe.
So can you elaborate a little bit? Because I know, like, the last little while, we've been looking at everything, like, we talked to Sergeant Patty Broussard, we've talked to Timothy Phillips, we've talked to Pascal, we've talked to lots of people within the field, but you've gone through now, which I gave you the Meredith Quinn, some of those documents from the Dakota Proclamation, which actually talks about the great matriarchs by the great Musa, which is Moses. And as you said, you're like a walk-in, or you access Moses's energy or Moses's soul. Can you elaborate a little bit then with your background in law as well? what you're seeing and how this is applicable today?
Yes, it's a good question.
Thank you.
When I came down in Lemuria hundreds of thousands of years ago,
Right.
we got trapped. It was my intention that women would take a very important role when we reconciled with the reptiles. We never reconciled with the reptiles. They had to be eliminated.
Right.
And because they were senior and because the male part of God had created them pretty much parthenogenically without the female part, they were senior and it turned out they wouldn't reconcile. I certainly didn't foresee that. I thought they would reconcile. But I knew it would be solved. But it required that the male side of God accept they have to go or provide them with another habitation, a different universe for them to enjoy without conflict in this one. Highly developed universe, therefore, should be managed by the human race and the Earth human race because it's totally more evolved than all the other humanoid races on account of the DNA arrangement.
Got it.
That they did or we did, which was create something where the troubled inimical races that were fighting were all locked up in the same body.
Oh.
And they would figure out how to solve conflict.
Okay.
That information, none of this, all of it I get always from the book. And the book has to be public knowledge. So that was in Sedona Magazine in the early 90s when Barbara Brennan out of San Francisco, a lawyer, channeled the Biwamas, who she said was a kind of mouthpiece for Satnam, which is also known as Sanat Kumar. That is to say, the representation of Sukma, God, but because Sukma, God, stays in its throne and doesn't come out and doesn't do anything but create by sound, by thinking things through.
Right.
You can never know what's in the mind of Sukma God. The plan of everything is there. And it can change things around quite a bit because it also has at its disposal what I call the 9 silent ones. And they're shown, if you want to pull up that other one.
What would you like?
Da Vinci, the one that Da Vinci did, the drawbridge dragon.
All right, we'll go back there in a sec here.
Okay.
This one?
Yeah, but I don't have the top of it on that picture. The 9 silent ones are on the top. Can you enlarge the picture on the right so you can see the top?
That's as far as I can go.
Okay.
Well, I'll turn the camera around here.
There are 9 gemstones.
Okay.
Too bad we can't. Oh, wait a minute. Above the bird, you can see them. Over on the left. If you focus on the smaller picture.
Okay, so we're going to go on to this one?
Visible, yes. No, they're not visible. That was something else. Those are energy balls coming down. But
like
above
orbs.
that, on the top, again, look at both pictures. There were 2 white forms on the top of that shield.
Right.
On the left is the masculine god. On the right is the feminine god.
Right.
Now the crop circle recently arrived.
The crop circles that were in Wiltshire this week
show that the feminine god existed before the masculine god. The masculine god did not know, and so he takes priority and says he's active and she's passive, which is true. That was her nature, and is her nature.
Okay.
He receives and he activates.
Right.
Can we pause the tape and bring that other picture in?
I'll bring the picture up, but you just keep talking and
okay. You can find it from
the yeah, we'll find it.
So they have together, if they want to agree on it, tremendous power called the 9 silent ones. Now at large order, it's not 9 anymore. They don't talk, and they can make changes in the universe and planets not corrected, nothing can be changed. If it's changed, it will affect everything else. This is a problem.
Right.
Let's stay with crop circle for a minute.
Okay.
What happened, this is a timeline from left to right. On the left, you have the feminine,
So on the left is the feminine.
and it's quite complete. And then the developing masculine is the second circle, and the kind of barbecue thing on the end there, on the first circle, shows it's going clockwise. You're pushing it. As you can see that the little tails are twisted toward us. Two
Right.
little tails next to the handle is turning, so it's pushing away from us. It's clockwise. She's already spinning, and we're talking here of something called the three rings of existence, and why three is the number of God. That's complete, and it's seen all the time. And then, of course, the most useful number and most important
Is the 3.
3 or 6 or 9.
3, 6, 9. Yep.
So the second one is the male.
So the first one's a female. We got that energy starting, but you said she precedes him. So the second is the male coming in.
Yes, it cannot.
And he's smaller.
Yes, it cannot be the other way.
Yeah.
Because she's going to eclipse him in the third one.
Yeah, she does totally obliterate him, doesn't she?
He doesn't like it. He says, "Oh, I'm going to use every erg of energy I have left." And in the fourth one, he does that, and he locks them both inside that outer ring.
Just like any marriage, eh?
So
You're laughing.
well, it's yes and no.
Okay, just saying.
You can't get away with it so easily, but they're locked together. Yes, they're married. And now no other universe can interfere. That's called the ring pass knot.
The ring pass knot. So we have the male, the female. So chaos, time, and the ring pass knot.
So chaos, ring cosmos.
The cosmos.
Up the ring cosmos.
The cosmos, the time.
Because she would bring in energy. See how things are spinning in Earth?
Yeah.
That's not an artifact. She's bringing in energy, and she's that centrifugal force. Out it goes, in and out.
Yeah.
So nothing's ever created. He says, I don't want that. I want to have creation. And once they mate, you get the third picture, and she's still spinning. You can see all those spinnings. Now, in the fourth picture, she's spinning, but it's all locked in by the ring pass knot. That's the meaning, or pass me not. Some of my teachers said pass me not, but it's called the ring pass knot. It's a book by Diane Fortune called Cosmic Doctrine, I think.
Cosmic Doctrine, Diane Fortune.
Yes, D-I-O-N. But and it's in print.
Okay.
Very interesting. The Mahanta that has the twin body that lives in Minnesota, the one you will ask help for.
Yeah.
Who arranged that book to be published. He trained Diane Fortune in his last life when he lived in London and South Africa, and he was Irish.
Right.
Named Moriarty. And he had to channel the book to her. Once they became friendly, he was only about 50 years old. He drove up the seacoast and left his body there in a hotel.
Yeah.
But then he was accessible to this knowledge, and it was Da Vinci who had the knowledge, or one of the higher sources.
Right.
But he worked with Da Vinci, and he was apprenticed by him. Da Vinci was already an ecumenist.
Got it.
Before the President Mahanta became an ecumenist. President Mahanta said, I didn't need to be an ecumenist. I was so evolved, but I took it on anyway. And I always wondered what he meant, so I kind of researched and asked for information. But I had already loved Diane Fortune's book before I ever met Eckankar, hardly before I heard of it. About the same time I heard of it, around 1976.
All right.
I got that book. That book came out about that time. It was published in London by the Society of the Inner Light. Society of the Inner Light? Yes, which had been founded by Diane Fortune, but she had been guided by the President Mahanta, who was in a body known as Moriarty.
Okay.
And she wrote books about it, the Dr. Tavener series, in which he did kind of miraculous healing of mental patients. And that
Wow.
was his kind of his business in London. He had already been married, had a family when he went to South Africa. Born in 1875, went to South Africa.
Hmm.
I went to Heidelberg and met the master that had been Da Vinci.
Got it.
Uh, Learned about Eckankar, but he couldn't use that knowledge. It didn't exist in the world, it was a secret. Continued on to South Africa, paid for by the government because they were fighting the Boers. English and Ireland was an English colony, but his father was a sea captain there in the English Navy.
Hmm.
So I can't tell whether they were Protestant or not,
Right.
or where they came from in Ireland.
So we just did a show also on Galactic Goddess TV with Rajanala. We did two of them actually, right?
Yes.
And that was like last week. Can you just surmise a little bit too? Because I'm giving people just the ability to go take a look at what they can. But at Galactic Goddess TV, you showed a lot of stuff about ships. You talked about how Moses, it wasn't really necessarily Egyptian. It was over, like we talked about in the Book of Mormon and the other books of Moses. In the Pearl of Great Price that the Mormons have, or Latter-day Saints, we've got extra books in there. And then the extra one would be then the Clanmother book. So if that was the Dakota books, and we all are all putting our star nations or our pieces back together. You talked a little bit about Moses really being in Guatemala, Mexico area. Can you just elaborate a little bit on your past life and what you remember with the Moses and how that all transpires briefly?
Well, without making it my story, which would take too long, Moses had a simple task. The human race was being, and now it's happening again, trafficked for its DNA.
Right.
And this DNA was very desirable, particularly to the reptoid aliens,
Right. Mm-hmm.
because they say it rejuvenates them. But also, humans have the ability, since we have 5 bodies, and we travel all the time. When the aliens don't, the reptoid aliens certainly don't,
Right.
and they want to. So they're trying to develop something new by getting hold of humanoid DNA. Now, I couldn't tell all of that in these two because these were practice videos with this Raja person.
Yes. So
And I hadn't ever done it before.
you've never been on camera before. I've thrown you on
Right.
camera, haven't we? So
Well,
we can find that
I'm
here.
getting happy with it. And of course, you can see the weather was colder. I had several sweaters at that time. It was early in the summer. Moses had the project, and he kind of thought of it. So he said, if they're eating human DNA and human beings and trafficking human beings,
Right.
let's make it poisonous for them to
Right.
stop. And how can we do that secretly so they don't even see us doing it?
Right.
So they allowed about 500 years to get in position.
Right.
And then they sent Abraham, first of all, to, the Bible explains, Abraham pretended to be a man of the Middle East, but he really went to South and all of Africa.
Right.
And what happened was, when Jehovah finished, or God finished showing him what he thought was God, finished showing him the
Right.
promised land, which was a large country called Canaan.
Canaan.
And they got a little piece of it. Israel is only a small fraction. A large country, the whole end of the Mediterranean. And what he thought was God told him, you will have the seed so numerous that as numerous as the stars in the sky. And this place will hold your seed. Then, having done that, he turned south, and he had his own army, and offered the services of his army to Pharaoh. There was a famine, there was problems, he couldn't sell his services. So he went to Egypt, which had enough food. Abraham, this is 500 years before Moses.
Wow.
It's the beginning of the plan. Now, Abraham didn't know exactly how the plan would work, but if he was going to have to obey God, he was going to obey God. And he did. He went to Pharaoh, he was told to, and the Bible made up a story that his wife, Pharaoh, had eyes for his wife,
Right.
and then Pharaoh suffered from plagues, and he realized, I better get this guy out of here, and he paid him off with riches.
Wow.
That's an insane story.
You think that's totally insane? Okay.
No, it's a clever story because it's a cover story,
Right.
and there's no reason not to believe it because it's so weird.
Got it.
But what if there's a real story? And there is.
Right.
That he offered his army,
Right.
his father's army. His father was still alive.
Right.
And Pharaoh said, I can't use an army here. I control everything now.
Right.
But they need it. We're developing something very important, colonies in South America and Central America.
Mm-hmm.
So get on these ships. Get your people on these ships. He only had 100 or so militia. And the next one that goes out, you be on it, and then Abraham's smart and he negotiates. And so the Bible says Abraham left Pharaoh a rich man. He had silver, he had gold, he had all kinds of livestock.
Right.
So on the ships they go.
Right.
They sail out the Red Sea around Africa using the currents on the east side of Africa where the Red Sea comes out.
Right.
They use the Aquinas current, and then they have to row at the bottom until they pick up the northern current that flows up the Atlantic. And now they come up into right past Africa. When they get close to the equator, they take the equatorial current, and then they can go either to Mexico. This isn't to say they rely on the current, but it helps them. It adds maybe 3 miles an hour, and if you're on a 90-day journey, that's a lot. There's a lot of hours. And then they have the sails and the rowing. So eventually they get to South America, Central America. And one of these places, Abraham and his army get off. And the Jews didn't exist in Israel at all, just the visit of Abraham to Canaan. And they never exist in Israel for another millennium and a half. We give Abraham a date of 1900 BC or 1950. Moses 500 years later, or 1450 BC.
Right.
Then we still have 500 more years, 14 to 9, even 800 to 600 BC, before the Jews actually appear in the Holy Land. And that's the time when they go into captivity. The Babylonians see them arrive and they go, who are you?
Right.
And take all the leaders into Babylon, imprison them, interrogate them.
Wow.
And then Cyrus the Great grabs the Jews and releases them and seizes Babylon. So that's basically how Moses had the opportunity to create a legal regime. The regime was created not in Moses, but the plan was Moses' plan, he said. And the Ekmasters, the Mahantas, agreed this plan will support it. And that's when they found Abraham. And he had such a powerful intelligence that today even Jewish scholars say he's really the father of arithmetic. He's the greatest astrologer. This great man, Abraham. He became a very important figure. His son had the lethal gene. That lethal gene was installed in Abraham's wife. And we know this because they always said we're too old to have children. And God told them what they thought was God, which was a servant of the Mahanta. Mahanta instructed them. And then the servant pretended to be God. Pretended to be God, spoke to Sarah, Abraham's wife, and said, Well, we're going to give you a little operation, but you will have a child. And so they put in some kind of really healthy egg in her, and it contained a lethal gene. But when she bore her son named Isaac, every Hebrew after that carried that lethal gene. But it took them 500 years until the time of Moses to have enough of an army.
Right.
So with 12 tribes and maybe three more, because Jacob, Abraham's grandson, had 12 sons, and his other grandson, Esau, had four. So there may have been as many as 16 tribes. And they strung them out along Central America in this Egyptian empire.
Right.
Abraham was immediately praised by Pharaoh, and he started winning battles. And then they were given land.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible that Joseph, it's true, did interpret dreams for another Pharaoh 100 years later. But everybody had a good feeling about them, and they were not dangerous. After 500 years, they were very dangerous. And the Pharaoh said, I'm going to trap these people, keep them here.
Wow.
Now, it's a matter of getting that gene and impregnating really most of the world. I'll tell that story later because it's simply in the Bible, all the different battles, 67. Right now, I have to go.
All right. So we want to thank you very much today for sitting down with us. That was very kind of you. I really appreciate it, Larry. And we're live streaming. So we just want to thank you guys for joining us. And we thank Stephen and a bunch of people. It's me, Healing Light, and Slow Finger. They're saying this is very cool. They appreciate your information here. And they're saying the first Church of England was built at Glastonbury about that time, too. It's one of the comments from Stephen in the chat room. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Yep. So we'll have some more.
Agreement on that.
We'll be doing some really cool stuff. And Larry, just what we got, just for like just a 2-minute brief thing here. Can you talk a little bit about what's happened in the last month with your health? Like when I first saw you in Mother's Day, right?
Well, I can only say I had lost weight. I had COVID twice, and then I had problems breathing. Now you can see I'm still on oxygen, but I'm at high elevation, 3,000 feet.
Yep.
At sea level, I was all right. I could go 2 or 3 hours without oxygen. Here it's only half an hour, and even that takes a lot out of me. So
what shifted in the last
I lost
month?
Weight. I weighed 120 when I went down to 96.
96 pounds you were down?
I couldn't put on weight no matter what, but then I started these treatments here and the out-rising. And after, what is now 4 weeks,
yep,
I'm closer to 114.
Yep.
I don't want to get too fat too quickly because I have to carry the weight.
Good.
So that's really the gist of it.
And how many years young are you? In this?
Oh, I'll be 85. I just am starting my 85th year.
And are you doing the Genius every day on yourself? And now you can use the remedy plates and your plating stuff and your food and your water?
Yes, I like the Genius. I have a lot of pleasure from it. Exclusively for me. I hardly have any other people on it, and I don't feel them.
But that's something that you're doing for yourself. So when people come to me and go, I don't know what to do, you're 84 and you're doing your own Genius. And just on your wrist too, we've got something flashing. That's the, do you want to just take that off for me and I'll just show you what that is. So this is Ryan Williams at Insight Health Apps. So this is something very, very special, you guys. This is what we're doing. We're using Spike Protect from Real Raw Foods. We're using alkalization, but this is actually going on and it's actually pulsing onto the skin. You can put it like wherever you need to. Okay. So this has been going on cleaning up LED. We're on amethyst beds and my famous smoothies, and you're about to have my famous chocolate after we're done here. And we've got MMS going on, and we've got all sorts of great stuff. Spike Protect, parasite purging. We've got a beautiful nebulizer here. So we just wanted to thank you guys for joining us, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is a rare opportunity to get someone of Larry's esteemed caliber to be even talking with us and even have it put out public. So thank you very much for joining us, and you guys have a great day. And take a look at us, Project Ascension. We're also at Galactic Goddess TV. So look forward to seeing you guys, and we'll catch you later. Thank you. And join us at Insight Health Apps if you have any questions. Anything you want to say?
No,
Larry?
over and out.
Okay.
Yeah, there's much more, but it'll have to wait.
Okay. Thank you very much.